I feel strongly about this, and if you guys make me come off the turnbuckle, I will.
Hello and welcome back to the Tether Radio Podcast, the only podcast keeping you from spiraling out into the infinite abyss. We're coming at you today with episode 19. I'm your host, Daniel, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother and co-host, Joseph.
Howdy. How you doing?
What's good, dude?
Man, everything and nothing. No, okay.
You're so existential.
Yeah, man, that's right. I'm floating above my microphone right now.
Do you remember when we both worked at
Tomato Head,
and somebody put a post-it on the Dr. Pepper, and it said Dr. Pepper for the existentialist? Because we ran out of like the Dr. Pepper like juice or whatever the.
I don't.
The concentrated.
The
Dr. P.
The concentrate. Yeah. I went to a restaurant the other day. Where was I? I think it was someplace in LA, and had just. Oh no! It was right before I flew to Atlanta. That's what it was. And a buddy ran me to the airport really early, and there were a few things open on the way to the airport, so we stopped at a Taco Bell. But anyway, I grabbed a drink.
A Baja Blast.
No, that's right. I had a thirst, but it was from south of the border, So I wanted to quench my thirst in a way that was commensurate with the food I was about to eat. That's why I went with the Baja Blast. But this fucking soda machine, man, somebody had turned this bitch up to like 15, and I and I go to put my cup under this thing, and I hit the lever, and it was like something out of like a comedy movie. It shot so hard, it almost knocked the cup out of my hand, and then shot liquid, like arced liquid, out of the bottom of the cup onto the floor. And then I look around, and it's just like a really shitty Taco Bell with like napkins and dirty tables, and I'm just like, okay, whatever,
I'm cool with this.
I make eye contact with the person who's like, who had just rung us up, and she just kind of like, so,
yeah.
Like, God damn, man.
Don't worry, Daryl will mop it up when we close.
That's exactly right, man. So they had the opposite problem. They were way too foamy up in that bitch. But,
yeah.
But it was
all good. You dial it back a little bit, Skid Row.
And that's exactly right, dude. It was like they had like stuffed fire extinguishers in these things. But anyway, man, how's your week?
Dude, it was good. Got to end the week with a Tennessee Volunteer victory against Auburn, which was very unexpected, but definitely enjoyable.
Yeah, well, you guys definitely thought that you were going to get the shit kicked out of you.
Yeah, pretty much. I think the spread was somewhere around 15 to 18 points, and the Vols ended up winning by, I don't know, like a touchdown or something like that. I was working, so I didn't really get to pay attention that closely, but
right.
But yeah,
right.
How about your week, man? You wrap up well?
It was good. Yeah, it was really, really good. So this week, I was doing a lot of work in Node, which is a JavaScript framework for backend stuff. So was putting together some APIs, which was kind of cool. And then trying to think, man, we ended up going up to a buddy's wedding on Thursday night. Mm-hmm. And it was some folks that I'd known in tech space for a while, and they got married, and it was cool because there were like some interesting personalities that
was this a Second Life wedding? You said you met him in the tech space.
Yeah. I used to mine for them on WoW, but
we had a LAN party wedding.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I used to mine. When I was an orc.
When I was an orc. Before I decided to change to a high wood elf.
Yeah, but before I made the conversion to a high wood elf, I was an orc, and I used to mine on these people's property.
So, yeah, they were nice to let you.
We cool, but no, but it was cool. It was cool because these folks are fairly well plugged in the tech community, and there's some just interesting people to chat with at their wedding. Kind of talking about distributed tech and some of the stuff that's going on in the space, and certainly this crypto winter, which I'm actually a huge fan of. We could maybe talk about that later. But
hey, real quick, for my own edification and potentially listeners, when you say distributed tech, is that synonymous with like decentralized tech?
I think it's me being a douchebag, dude, because I
wasn't doing a call out. I was just asking for clarification.
Well, yeah. Here's the truth. I think it's me being kind of a douchebag.
Jargon slinging yokel.
Well, that technology just got so out of hand in 2017. I feel like it's like it was just silly. Like so many silly people that just were like obviously snake oil huckster types. I feel like people have tried to kind of abstract away their, how they work on that shit, and talk about it in a different way so that, maybe you don't sound like anybody else. But yeah, distributed tech. That's kind of how I guess a lot of people refer to it. I refer to it. But yeah, it's I think the term blockchain is gonna in short order is going to blend into other kind of other tech stacks. Like the structure of blockchain is going to blend because really it's just a bunch of databases linked together in a novel way, right? So anyway, yeah, that's kind of the whatever. When I say that, that's what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, so it was cool, man. It was always awesome to get together with some folks that you haven't seen in a while and shoot the shit about, everything from geopolitics to sports.
Honey buns.
Fucking honey buns, man.
All right, well, I'll tell you one thing, dude.
Honey buns are twofer. That's a twofer, ain't it?
That's a twofer buck.
No. 59 cents and 59 cents is $1.18, but you're saying me it's a twofer for $1? Yeah, I'll take it.
What if I was to tell you can have the stickiness of two buns for the price of one?
Hey, brother, put that honey bun in your pocket, man. It's packaged. Like, it'll hold. It'll keep.
It'll keep. Oh my god! All right, well, we'll hop right in, man. So while me and you were you were doing the developing and learning of programming and all that jazz with Lambda.
Okay.
And I was taking care of Finn, the Knox County mayor of, or I guess the mayor of Knox County in the beautiful city of Knoxville, Tennessee, was getting slammed on the table.
Okay.
Because the mayor is Glenn Jacobs, aka Kane, and he actually.
So yeah, you gotta tear this apart for me here, because you and I discussed this briefly this morning.
Yeah.
And I know we got some WWE fans in the house. Faux yeah. But this son of a bitch, Jacobs, what's his first name?
Glenn Jacobs.
Glenn Jacobs is Kane. Walk me through this, because I think most people. I mean, I have a very cursory knowledge of the WWE, but I know who Kane is. So walk me. How the fuck did this guy become the mayor of Knox County? And I didn't know that counties had mayors. What?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Is this even a real?
I want to see when. I don't remember when he actually got.
Which, by the way, it says on Tuesday, WWE announced that Kane will join The Undertaker in a tag team match against Shawn Michaels and Triple H next month.
Wait a second. I thought that's what already happened.
Oh, how old is this article?
No, it's not that old. It's from October 9th or something. So...
Got it.
But so, got it. Which there was... Let's see. Oh, no, you're right. Next month. Yeah, you're right. My bad. Which I think that they had some kind of wrestling match like recently that they... Oh, no, it says on Tuesday. Okay. Oh, no, but it does say next month. Anyway, there's a clip in this article that we'll post that is absolutely amazing because you get to see The Undertaker... Or no, I'm sorry. I think it was Triple H, dive off the turnbuckle and slam the Knox County mayor into a table, splitting the table in half. So,
hold on though. I'm just doing a little research here. So Glenn Jacobs. First of all, he was born Glenn Thomas Jacobs in Spain.
Okay.
And they say that his build height is 7 feet tall. No fucking way.
There's no way.
And that he is 323 pounds. That's not true. Anyway,
he's 6 feet. He's 6 feet 8 inches tall and 300 and about close to 300 pounds.
That's crazy, dude. That's crazy.
Oh, believe me, dude. He strikes the fear into anybody that wants to try to legislate under him.
Well, and here's the thing. He's coming at you from different angles, too, because, he had a couple of other names before he settled on Kane, including Angus King, Bruiser Mastino, Christmas Creature, Diesel, Doomsday.
Wait, Christmas Creature?
Christmas fucking Creature, dude. Isaac Yankum, DDS. Yeah, he was a fucking dentist at one point, dude.
he was a fucking dentist.
Mike Unabomb, and then just Unabomb, and finally Kane.
And finally just Mike.
And finally just Mike, and then finally just and then finally... Yeah, so anyway, and by the way,
that's awesome.
I really appreciate you throwing in the term turnbuckle. Rarely do you get to say as an adult, yeah, man, and then he flew off the fucking turnbuckle. But I will tell you this, moving forward, what episode is this, 19?
19.
After this fucking episode, man, like, I'm going to start throwing that into just my day-to-day chats with people, right? Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm just going to be like, damn, I don't know, man. I mean, this is a hard problem, technically speaking. Hang on, let me come off the turnbuckle at it.
No, I don't want to, take control over this meeting or anything, or take. I don't want to take a dive off the turnbuckle with this meeting or anything. But
I feel strongly about this, and if you guys make me come off the turnbuckle, I will.
Oh, that's awesome.
And no, I'm serious. I feel like our sales goals are underprojected by 8.5%. And if you make me come off the turnbuckle on this, I will. I will. I'll take it to the board, Tony. You don't think I will, Gary? You're looking at me like that. I'll come off the turnbuckle.
Gary, you son of a
bitch. God damn it, Gary. Stop chewing your gum and listen to me. I see you over there dicking around at the water cooler with Kelly. This is unfucking acceptable. 8.5%.
Well, speaking of flying off the turnbuckle, I'm pretty sure that
I like what you did there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that some people that were trying to take a flight from Orlando to Cleveland. They wanted to jump off the turnbuckle on this dumbass that tried to bring a squirrel on the plane as an emotional support animal.
But the thing is with these with emotional support animals, this has been a big topic in the past. Like, dude, I don't remember this all as when I was a kid at all.
Ever. That's because it was one of those things that it was an unspoken thing that it's like you don't bring an animal on the plane unless they're like super tiny and going to be in like a carrier the whole time.
Well, and I think that people maybe gave less of a shit about your emotional state on a fucking airplane. It was like, well, then don't fly.
Well, dude,
take a bus.
Yeah. Well, plus most like why can't these people be like normal people? And if you need emotional support, you hit the fucking sky bar before your flight.
Right. That's exactly right. Jack Daniels will give you all the emotional support you need.
Yeah, there you go.
No, but you read about these all the time, and the shitty part about it is that I mean, there are people that, like, folks that are autistic or whatever, that need I say autistic folks. I mean, dude, how about people that are blind or partially blind or whatever, and actually need that,
like an actual service animal.
An aid animal, service animal for a real function.
Yeah.
But you have, which this is insanely popular in California. People will just sign their animals up, and you'll see these animals sitting in like a nice restaurant with like this emotional support vest on, and you're just like, what? Like, so anyway,
it makes you want to go up and just slap the hell out of the person and be like, dude, leave your damn animal at home, like, or get someone to watch it.
I like how your response is to assault the person.
Someone needs to slap that person.
Yeah, you're just like, hold on, is there a turnbuckle up in this bitch? No, but it's gotten a little bit obscene. So what happens? She gets on this plane. She's got a squirrel. How did the squirrel get through security?
See, they don't even address that, which I mean, like, I guess that, well, I really don't know. Maybe she has like some like pre-check something that, like, whatever, they don't look in her purse, or I really don't know, because they, like I said, they don't address it. But yeah, so this woman gets on the plane and they find out that she's got a damn squirrel. And there's a couple videos that are actually pretty funny, because they cheered, like, the other passengers cheered when they brought her off. And, like, somebody yelled something like, "You dumb bitch," or something like that, and she flips them off.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, dude. It's Wait, like humanity at its finest.
The article that you had, what was the source from your original article?
Mashable.
Okay.
The website. Yeah.
So this is USA Today, not necessarily a pillar of journalism, but
yeah.
So this is what they told her. They said, either you walk off this plane, or I'm going to arrest you for trespassing, and we will take that squirrel. And she said,
anything but my squirrel.
She said, you're not taking my squirrel. Sorry, you're not. I refuse. You will not take my baby from me. So, dude, this is a mental health issue.
Oh, dude, yeah. And I mean, if you know,
Clearly.
Like, there's a stereotypical, like, troublemaker, like, just literally in the form of a man and a woman, like, when you see them walk in, they're trouble kind of thing. That they're going to be either really high maintenance, or they're just already in a pissy mood, so it's going to be, like, annoying to even talk to them kind of thing. Anybody that deals in, like, retail and whatever, the service industry or hospitality industry or whatever, knows what I'm talking about. So,
or put another way, you're saying they're just, like, looking for a fight type thing?
Well, it's just looking to be difficult and to, like, test shit. You know what I'm saying? Or test the waters kind of shit. And it's just, it's irritating, because it's like, I mean, dude, you're telling me that this woman thought that, like, she was going to get away with taking a fucking squirrel on an airplane?
I think you would be surprised.
Well, I mean, and you're right, I probably would. I'm surprised on a daily basis when I take the entirety of humanity into my sights.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so but anyway, so they ended up having to delay this flight by, like, a few hours, which obviously, I mean, people miss flights because of this dumbass,
Right.
And but yeah, it's just insane. But they talk about how, and I can't remember if we covered this earlier or not in an earlier episode, but, like, They mentioned that somebody tried to bring a peacock on a plane also.
Right.
And it's just like, how is a peacock going to support you emotionally?
I mean, I think that this is basic, this is just, basic gaming of the system, man. Whatever, right? Like, somebody's got this exotic, they've got this exotic animal. They don't want to put it underneath the plane. And so they're going to say, yeah, my peacock is an emotional support animal. I mean, what's silly is it gets turned into something where we're like, oh my God, can you believe she really, like I don't know, maybe she thought this squirrel was an emotional support animal. What I probably think is that she couldn't think of a better way to get it to her destination, right? So she signed it up as an emotional support animal and called ahead and said, hey, I'm going to be bringing my squirrel with me or whatever.
Well, that was the thing is they specifically mentioned because when you have to when you request or not request, you have to basically claim that you have a service animal, but most people would be like service dog, service cat, whatever. She just put service animal when she was doing that, which obviously, because that immediately they'd be like, wait, what? No, don't bring your damn squirrel. Right. In this case, she took the better to ask forgiveness than permission stance. So,
right. Totally.
But anyway, we won't linger on that one by any stretch because we got to talk about the teens and their vape.
Yeah, man. So, have you ever vaped?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. Are you a big fan of vaping?
I mean, dude, I only sub-ohm with my rig. No, just kidding.
I only chase clouds on alternate Wednesdays. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, Friday nights, my vape group gets together and we whoever can chase the most clouds, we call the dragon.
Yeah, no, I hear you. We do something similar. We all just have a room with no furniture in it, right? And we have hammocks hanging from the ceiling. So we get
circle.
Well, no, so we get in them and we just vape, and then we call it around the world in 80 days, right? And so we're in our hot air balloons.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and so it's pretty far out. We're just hanging amongst the clouds. It's like some shit from Avatar, dude. You'll see. It's pretty great. We plug the Christmas lights in, and we play some Marley.
Play some Marley.
We play Amber by 311 on repeat.
Whoa.
Amber's color of energy. Yeah. So vaping has obviously become incredibly popular. And there is a wide variety of vaping devices, everything from, as you were joking about, rigs, right?
I think that's what they're called.
Yeah, man, that you can.
What the jargon is.
But that you can heavily modify.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you can put extra coin. Because honestly, I started looking into this because, it literally has become a culture kind of thing. Yeah,
no, it's true. Well, there are vaping competitions.
Yeah.
And, that's just a fucking sign of the end of times, man. But,
right.
But anyway, so you're right. It is a culture. It is a thing. And so there's a wide variety of vaping tools.
Mm-hmm.
Some are insanely expensive, and these folks that probably listen to Slipknot, they choke down on some vapes and do the thing, right? And then on the other end of the spectrum, you can walk in and you can get a blue e-cig, right? Yeah. Which I've done those before.
Yeah.
But in the middle of the spectrum, you can go to some shitty head shop and get, a new, different device that you can plug in or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But there is this device called a Juul. Have you heard of Juul?
Yeah.
Okay. So Juuls go from between $35 and $50, right?
Mm-hmm.
starter kits. So that'll get you like a Juul. I think it comes with like an initial flavor pod, I think is what they call them. And you can get other flavor pods for $16 for a pack of 4, right? And so these Juuls they actually look pretty cool, man, right? I mean, all things considered, I'm not a big smoker. I'm not really a smoker at all, but every now and again, I'll have a cigarette. I mean, it's few and far between. Occasionally, like an e-cig or something if somebody's got one, whatever. But these Juul things, they look pretty cool. They light up when you hit them. They look like a USB drive. I think probably most people that are listening to this have seen these things.
Yeah.
And they are insanely popular with high school kids.
Yeah.
Like insanely popular. So
because they're cheap, and then it's also one of those things that I would think that it would be a hell of a lot easier to hide that you were vaping than smoking from like your folks or whatever.
And it's some shit to do, man. Yeah. You're in high school, like, come on, dude. I mean, it's just like everybody, whether you're like, your parents tell you not to, that you've got to be back at midnight or whatever, man. You're just looking for ways to break the law. Feel a little rebellious, right?
Yeah.
So apparently, like, high school kids have these in their backpacks. It's fairly common. I'm not saying every kid's got them, but it's to the point where, and I don't know if this is the reality of Juuls in high schools, but you're hearing like PSAs, right? Like I landed in Georgia about a week ago and turned on the radio, and there's a fucking PSA, dude. Like, have you heard of a Juul? It looks like this, and your child, you talk to your child about vaping or whatever. So the reason that I'm saying this and giving you probably more of a background than you need, this company is insane. Has grown to an unbelievable. It has grown unbelievably quickly, and has grown to an unbelievable size.
Yeah.
So Juul did $1.2 billion in their last venture round. Okay. Jeez. The company is valued at $15 billion with a B dollars, right?
Well, dude, just in this article, they said that according to Nielsen, Juul represents nearly 55%. 55%. So over half of the entire e-cig retail market.
It's crazy. It's really, really crazy. And these guys were like 2 Stanford engineers, and they were in the Valley at the right time, and they clearly got the right, had the right look and the right, the right distribution channels and whatever. But they've grown insanely fast. For Facebook to get to the same size that Juul is today, it took like 6 years or something, right?
Yeah.
Juul grew from zero for all I guess for purposes of calculation from damn near zero in 2016, I want to say. 2015 to $15 billion earlier this year, right?
I mean, dude, that's just but I feel like it's also one of those situations that when shit grows that fast, you're automatically going to be dealing with problems because I feel like it puts the spotlight on you, kind of thing. It's kind of like Facebook. Once they got so big that it's just like everybody's looking at like legislators and whatever, Sherman antitrust shit and like monopolizing markets and all that stuff. As soon as you get big enough, or if you grow quick enough, then you're just in the center of the spotlight, right?
Yes, but also the fact that these guys are working in a regulated marketplace, right? So this is not whatever. I mean, these guys aren't pushing out bicycles or whatever. And so I don't know why I just said fucking bicycles, frisbees, whatever it is. hula hoops, whatever was popular.
Hey, real quick tangent. Did you know that Frisbees originally were pie pans?
I did, and to those folks, I say grazie.
Anyway,
yeah. So anyway, the FDA just hopped into the mix with Juul because of this conversation about a good number of folks that are Juul customers being underage, and for a variety of different reasons. They in this article, the way that they phrase it is that the FDA conducted a surprise inspection of Juul, right? And they're saying that this is an aggressive new chapter of the FDA's war on the epidemic of underage vaping, right? So they raided the offices, and what they were looking for was documentation around Juul's sales and marketing practices, to make sure that they weren't targeting intentionally underage vapors. And so, that was kind of the point of the article, and the reason that we brought it up was this FDA thing, and the FDA barging in on Juul. But I just think the fascinating thing to me here is this is nothing new, man. I mean, come on, right? Like when cigarettes, we were having this conversation with cigarettes. We're going to have this conversation with vaping. Like this is a regulated industry. These guys are blowing it up. They've done a great job of growing this business, and the government is here to to enforce regulation, and it's gonna be problematic for Juul in the short term, but definitely not in the long run. I think.
You know that the government's basically just looking for a cut. You know what I'm saying? It's like what kind of like taxes can we put on like vape supplies and stuff to get a little bit of the action kind of thing. Right.
Well, these are your hard-earned tax dollars, or your hard-come-by tax dollars at work, right? The FDA said that they had issued 1,300 warning letters and fines to brick-and-mortar e-cigarette retailers, that the agency said it had busted selling Juul vapes to minors during an undercover blitz carried out this summer.
Blitz. Do you think they came off the turnbuckle?
I know they came off the turnbuckle, dude. This is what the turnbuckle was built for, But I think that Juul's a really, really interesting company, and I really appreciate these groups that are able to hop into regulated spaces like this and just move quickly. And I mean, like, here's the thing, like there's a huge drive for this product. I find it really hard to believe. Would you say 55% in your research, 55% of the market?
Yeah, right. Close to 55%, man.
There's no way that 55% of this marketplace is like underage people. That's absurd, right?
No. I would say, just throwing out a number, man, I would say maybe 5 to 10% total,
right?
Like of the of the 100%, not 55% that Juul's dealing with. Of Juul's, man, probably 2 to 5 kind of thing.
Right. So,
because dude, vaping is huge just because people don't like to smell like cigarettes, and normally you can get away with doing it indoors.
Totally. So I thought it was a cool article because of how quickly this company's grown. I feel like you don't see a lot of consumer products companies grow this quickly. But man, it's gonna be really interesting to see if and when these guys go public. What that looks like. If there's any M&A activity around the vaping space with maybe more mature tobacco companies or whatever. And look, man, this is going to become it's obviously going to become the next cigarette, right? In the 30s and 40s. Maybe, earlier than that, I guess. But doctors would prescribe people to smoke, right? I mean, that was a real thing. And so, we don't understand the health repercussions of vaping just yet. So I don't know. That seems to be kind of the focus of this podcast, is talking about kind of emerging trends and how this all gets mixed up into popular culture. And that's why I really love stories like this. Like the first time I saw this was a Juul was at this conference, and there were all these people that were like way fucking cooler than me, and they all had like cool shoes on and like super hip San Francisco backpacks and whatever, and like somebody pulls out a Juul and like rips it and like and then nods their head and they're like, yeah man, copacetic or whatever the fuck they said afterwards. That was striking. But so that's I think that's why I dropped this article in there today, is because I think that most people, if you stopped them in the street and you're like, do you know what a Juul is? I think it would be interesting to see how many people actually know. No one is going to guess that this thing is worth $15 billion, right? Yeah. Like, well, it's just wild. Like,
yeah, and I mean, it kind of snuck up. Well, and it kind of snuck up,
Exactly.
Which is kind of funny to say about a company as ubiquitous as Juul, or at least now as ubiquitous as they are.
Yeah. But, yeah. So anyway, just wanted to bring it up because it's, for anybody that's listening to this that is entrepreneurially minded, that is into entrepreneurship. It's just cool to kind of think about these little spaces in the economy that have room for $15 billion. Like, that's pretty wild, and have room for $15 billion over 2 to 3 years. Like, that's not wild. That's absurd, right?
Oh yeah, dude.
So anyway, onward and upward. Take us to.
Let's go over to the Carolinas.
Let's go over to the Carolinas, man. Take us there. What's happening?
Yeah. Well, basically, Mecca mosquitoes have come into the Carolinas. So this article was taken from a local. I think it's out of Greenville, South Carolina. But anyway, it's called Mega Mosquitoes, up to 20 times larger than normal, invading Carolinas. And so they think that all of this was brought about because of the floodwaters from Hurricane Florence that just hit like semi-recently. But yeah, so they think that caused the eggs to hatch for these things that in the South we always called them gallon nippers, and they're absolutely literally it's a mosquito on steroids kind of thing. But,
I don't think those are the same thing, man.
What?
The gallon nippers, like you were saying that. I don't think so.
Well, so actually, look at while I'm talking about this, look it up on obviously the most credible source ever, Wikipedia. But check out gallon nippers on Wikipedia, because I'm with you, man. Like I think that the things that we thought were gallon nippers weren't gallon nippers, because I'm pretty sure like there's another kind of insect that it's like it looks all bigger than these things, because there's some, if you want to hit some of those links, Joseph, there's pictures and videos and stuff of these, because they're still insanely large, like not as fat as like a housefly, but like, okay, I mean, like it's big, man. It's probably like 2.5 or maybe around like 2 centimeters. So I mean, like it's a sizable insect, but yeah, the things that we used to call gallon nippers, I think actually fed on mosquitoes. So, or at least that's what our folks always told us. Because we wouldn't want to kill them.
I just looked this up.
Yeah.
A gallon nipper is in fact, I stand corrected, is in fact a type of biting mosquito. Okay.
But it's only the females.
Yes, but
because they actually have to feed to yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, well, the things that we used to call gallon nippers are called crane flies.
Okay. Do they actually feed on mosquitoes, or
they do not.
Okay, well,
they do not feed on.
Well, my childhood was a lie.
Oh man, that could be a slippery slope. Yeah,
you know what? This episode's over. I quit.
Yeah. Right, I'm out of here. See ya.
No, but so yeah.
These large mosquitoes, are they a different breed? I mean, the people are going to be surprised at the scale of these things.
Yeah,
they're fucking it's huge. They're huge.
And they're swarming, dude. Like if you look at some of the like there's a Facebook video that is in this article that we'll post. And dude, this lady's sitting in her car and literally her car is like outside of her car is swarming with them. Like it's insane. But anyway, the good thing is they are not known for like transmitting disease and stuff, because I'm assuming because they're obviously not always around, so it would be kind of hard for them to do that. But yeah, I mean, it's just absolutely insane. I feel terrible for the people living in the Carolinas right now, because I feel like it's, you know, they're already having to deal with the fallout of, you know, Hurricane Florence, and then now they're having to deal with this shit. So
right.
But yeah, man, it's some crazy stuff. But yeah, take a second, listeners, take a second to go through some of these links that are within this article, because it really is kind of insane how big they are. But and my God, dude, they describe the sting as painful enough to feel like you've been stabbed. I'm like, wait a second, what? Like by a needle, maybe?
Yeah.
But
but it's you have to check it out. We thought that was an interesting one to throw in. But let's truck on to some pretty hard hitting a hard hitting story from this past week. I think it's been a week or so. Mm-hmm. But wanted to bring up this unbelievably perplexing, interesting, like foul, dicey, I don't know what adjective you want to throw at it, but this case of the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi, right? I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, right? Khashoggi.
I believe so. I was actually.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we're doing this guy some justice, because he.
Khashoggi.
This is just.
Did you hear that? Khashoggi. It is Khashoggi.
Khashoggi.
And hopefully that recorded. Because it sounds like a small Asian boy saying Khashoggi.
Well, yeah, I don't know where you got the pronunciation tool, but thank you. But the story of Jamal Khashoggi is fucking baffling, man. Really, really interesting. So we'll try to kind of tee it up quickly, and then get into an analysis and a commentary here, but. So this guy, Jamal Khashoggi, he's a journalist for the New York Times, I believe. Or excuse me.
Washington Post.
I misspoke. WAPO. Yeah, Washington Post. And so Khashoggi writes a variety of things for WAPO, but one of the things that he is his specialty at Washington Post is commentary about Saudi Arabia. And so Saudi Arabia is in an interesting political climate now. There is a new ruler, a new prince who has taken the reins, and this guy was at one point fairly close to the royal family, I believe, and had become, as I mentioned, a critic of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who is the new head of the Saudi kingdom, right? And this guy, this Prince Mohammed bin Salman is known for being fairly hardline, right? So Khashoggi Khashoggi goes to an embassy, a Saudi embassy in Turkey, right? Mm-hmm. to get documents necessary for him to get married, right? Mm-hmm. And there are surveillance tapes that have been released about this, but that show this. But his fiance waits for him outside, right? Mm-hmm. And Khashoggi goes in and never comes out of the embassy. And this was a week ago, maybe a little over a week ago. Mm-hmm. And so immediately the Washington Post and understandably, right? The Washington Post and kind of journalists around the world are absolutely screaming from the, at anybody that will listen to investigate this and try to understand where this guy went. Yeah. If you read some of his criticism of the Saudi kingdom, to be certain, it's critical. But like, dude, this guy is not an extreme guy. He's just not. He's just an investigative journalist doing what investigative journalists do, right? Mm-hmm. And frankly, in my very humble opinion on the intensity of media, this guy is just, whether you agree with him or not, like he's just doing what good journalists do. Mm-hmm. And so Turkey decided that they were going to hop in and investigate what was going on because the Saudi embassy was in Turkey where Khashoggi disappeared. Mm-hmm. And so Turkey emerges with what they say is evidence that Khashoggi was tortured and murdered in the embassy, mm-hmm. And then taken his remains, I guess, taken back to Saudi Arabia, disposed of, right? And so this is a really interesting article for a couple of reasons, but I think the most striking thing to me here is that we have got to be really, 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 really careful about where this line is in railing against the media and specific journalists, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think that it's fine for people to be opinionated, and it's journalists to be opinionated, and honestly, it's fine for journalists in my mind to not give necessarily a fair and balanced account. Like, if you look at the spectrum, right? Would you rather have accounts that vary wildly or no accounts at all? Well, obviously, we'd like to have as many perspectives as possible. Yeah. And I think in 2018, considering the weight that outside interests throw around financially with kind of in the context of an unsustainable business model, which is, in my mind, publication, the way that publishers have made money in the past is changing dramatically, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, considering the effect of outside influence on publishers and then how that trickles down to journalists, I don't think it's realistic at all to expect journalists to be, what Walter Cronkite was perceived as being back in the day. First of all, that was not the fucking truth, right? Yeah, like, obviously, this guy had an agenda and he was pushing it as well. It's just figuratively and literally, America was a little bit more whitewashed back then, and so I would say more people probably. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, because I guess talking about how I agree with you to a point about journalists being able to editorialize articles that they write, kind of, and make them more opinionated, because I feel like I don't know if I agree with you that because the whole concept, or at least to me, the whole concept of journalism is just as accurately as possible depicting what's going on.
I think that historically that has been what journalists have professed, and I think that there are some that take that very, very, very seriously. Yeah, so in a roundabout way, yes. But yellow journalism absolutely was the thing. Yellow journalism was, potentially responsible for the Spanish-American War, right? So I don't disagree with you. I think that's the what's the best way to put it? That is the that is journalism optimized, right?
Yeah,
that is the pinnacle of journalism, and I think many journalists kind of reach for that. But if they're being, dude, it's just economic reality, right? Like you can't feed yourself being like newsrooms aren't what they used to be, right? So if you're able to, so I don't want to hijack this conversation because you're making a point, but it's yes, I agree that's the wish position, that's the goal, but I think that is super far from the reality that we're seeing with
just in general, I completely agree with you, because dude, that's why stereotypically conservatives gravitate to Fox and liberals gravitate to CNN or whatever, because it's people want to receive news and stuff that they want to hear, that is desirable to hear, right? Or at least it coincides with their own views, kind of thing.
We've covered this a bit on this podcast. The internet is not set up to the modern internet is not set up to it is a series of echo chambers. Because the way that you get people to buy the things that you want them to buy, and rest assured, that's what the modern internet pretty much is. The smartest people in the world are trying to figure out how to get you to click more. And the way that you do that is by putting people in echo chambers and making them feel safe and warm and like ready to buy. And so that's so my point is that people get put into echo chambers, and I think they seek that kind of, outside of their internet usage and just in their daily life anyway. I think that's a huge reason why, this disagreement breeds like insane rage, because people are genuinely shocked when they're like taken out of these safe spaces. So that I think the internet largely creates, and I think we spend a ton of our time on the internet, and so I think that kind of makes sense. Just to kind of bring us back though to this, to the Khashoggi thing, the comment that I was making about this being just such an interesting time here. I think when you hear Trump shit talk journalists, we are doing that in the United States, and maybe understanding that it's like, he's giving this person a hard time, and like yes, there even in my mind, I think that Trump steps over the line occasionally, just like when you're just kind of whole cloth being like, you guys are all full of shit. It's like, I get it. I understand maybe, from a negotiator's perspective, what he's trying to create. But nevertheless, it is a different fucking story in other places. I mean, journalists in Mexico are routinely murdered for knowing a little too much or writing the wrong thing when it comes to cartels. In the Khashoggi case, and there was another recent, very suspect murder of a Bulgarian journalist, this lady, who was found raped and murdered in a park. And so I don't know that we're getting ready to see, wholesale. I hope not. My God, but getting ready to see wholesale persecution of controversial journalists. I think we need these people, right? We need people to disagree with the right and say absurd shit about Donald Trump. I think we need people that disagree with the left and are more conservative or libertarian leaning. We need these perspectives. It's really, really important. One of the things that I read and I just read this right before we hopped on, so it was a news source that I found, but was that some source had kind of bubbled up this conversation that supposedly the Saudi prince had with someone, where he's like, well, this Donald Trump hates journalists. We can dispose of this guy, and as long as it's not in the United States, it's not going to be a problem. So I don't know. I mean, we don't have any proof right now. We don't know what happened to this guy. But it is, I think it's something to take note of, man, because I'm telling you, even a journalist that I'm just like, this guy's a joke. Like, I mean, I am not a big fan of Don Lemon or Anderson Cooper, simply because, whatever. I think they're, and I guess I could say the same for a guy like Bill Riley, Riley or whatever. But they're like combative off the gate, and they're like, it's pretty obvious where they're coming from, and it's like,
well, dude, they're propagators of the rage culture shit that you were talking about earlier.
And I think on both sides, a guy like Don Lemon, a guy like Bill O'Reilly, for sure, right?
Yeah.
But it's important to. God, man, journalism is so fucking important. It is so important, and it's really unfortunate that it's become so devalued. But I think this is going to be an interesting case as it plays out. You said you were listening to No Agenda, and they brought up some interesting points. We're both fans of the No Agenda podcast.
Oh yeah.
Do you care we need to truck on here in about 5 minutes.
Well, no, so I actually don't have a whole lot to say about it, because
just a couple of lines that you had mentioned to me when I was in the car heading back. And they bear repeating, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure. So, and here I'm trying to get my computer. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so just some stuff from the No Agenda newsletter, and obviously,
By the way, can you flick just mention their website just quickly in case somebody wants to go listen to this podcast?
Yeah, I believe it's well, actually, I mean, if you want to listen to their podcast, it's you can find it on like all the big platforms, iTunes, I'm sure the podcast app. I don't know off the top of my head what their website is, but it is completely, they run a really, really awesome podcast, because
it's noagendashow.com. Noagendashow.com.
But yeah, so they basically break down and deconstruct news, both left and right, and it's very informative. But anyway, so they were saying John C. Dvorak, who's one of the hosts, he also sends out a newsletter for No Agenda, and they were just saying like, okay, well, with the Khashoggi, is that correct?
Correct.
Khashoggi. Okay. So, he needed like this important paperwork to be able to get married. And, but why did he need to fly from the US to London and then, Istanbul to get this important paperwork? And then they were also saying that like the Turks claimed to have, a tape, that was taped by like the, Saudi government of this dude being chopped up, kind of thing, that it's evidence that he was killed or whatever, but they haven't like disclosed it at this point, supposedly. And they were just asking, is the entire embassy bugged? Is it, not to start like conspiracy theory shit or anything along those lines, but I mean, it's just there's a lot of stuff that is just very peculiar about this situation,
right?
Know? So, but yeah, I would 100% recommend everyone to start listening to No Agenda and donate to their show, man, for sure. But anyway, that was about all I had in regards to
and it's just
Khashoggi
I guess my point in bringing this up is like, this is just a really, really complicated story. You're not going to see this shit. This has been kind of floating around in the second and kind of third tier headlines, and no wonder, because it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, you know what? I say that I'm going to correct myself, because CNBC had a huge feature on this the other day, and so did CNN, and good on both of them for doing this, because this is a fucking big deal. Richard Branson is actually I'm actually going to completely reverse my statement, because Richard Branson, I think I texted this to you, Daniel, is actually thinking about not taking $1 billion of investment from the Saudi sovereign wealth fund, I think, as protest, right, to figure out what happened to this guy. So, I mean, this is I'm going to wrap this up, and we're going to move on to the next point here, because we've been on this for a while. But man, I'm telling you, like, we talk about this all the time on this podcast, the confluence of machine learning, which people call AI, the confluence of IoT at scale. There's an unfucking believable article on 5G that we had up for a conversation last week. We didn't talk about it. I'm actually going to push it to the next podcast, because I've done a little bit more research, and we need to discuss this. But the implications of how 5G networks are coming together, how that's going to drive the development of IoT ecosystems, and then how that data will ultimately be secured. Keep in mind, this is a lot of future talk here, but against blockchain type architecture. And a huge component of that is being able to prove provenance of data, right, and understand chain of custody of data. A huge reason we should do that is to be able to tell what fucking came from where, and what news stories are bullshit and came from, some Russian hack house, versus, we're actually, followed a path of release that when WikiLeaks says this is what happened, we can say, yeah, this is what happened, right?
Well, and putting an end to the day of anonymous sources and all that shit.
But here's the thing: we would not necessarily do that, right?
Really?
Like, it's not that you would have to lay bare the identity of the people that are giving all this information necessarily. You would just say that the path that it traveled. Like, if somebody said, hey, I got this information in Jordan, and then I sent it here, and then it did this, and then I downloaded it here, like that path might be more clear. Right. And so my point is that we have technology that is begging for the nation state to be reconsidered. Right. Like, the concept of a nation state. I'm not going to go any further down this rabbit hole on this, but I'm going to make this point and then shut the fuck up so we can move on. But the concept of a nation state as the governing entity for humans is not that old. Right. And it's largely based on currency, right? Because you have to be able to leverage tax and leverage power over your populace. And the way that that's happened in the modern world has been by weaponizing finance. Let's put a fine point on it.
Yeah.
And so as this drive towards all the confluence of all this interesting technology kind of asks that we reconsider that. And within that context, nation states are feeling more threatened, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Journalists are, continuing to uncover shitty players at that level. Like, there's going to be a lot of lashing out and just bizarre shit. And, like, you've got to choose what the line is, right? And, like, I don't want to put my tinfoil hat on today, because we're going to do that on our conspiracy episode. I think we were planning on November, maybe, for that. We've been talking about it since late in the summer, but it's going to take a lot of work to put together. But so I'll save the tinfoil hat for that. But keep your fucking antenna up, man. Keep the antenna up, and, like, when these things happen, do not consider it just your typical news story, right? This is not a hurricane hitting. This is not a transgender bathroom. This is not something that is that has happened overnight, right? Like, we have gotten to the point where this Saudi journalist may have been lured into a fucking embassy and murdered, right? He may not have been. There may be something else going on. He may have been lured there by the United States so they could murk him and then blame Saudi Arabia and then, lob missiles at Saudi Arabia. Like, the deep state is real, but my point is you think about it, right? Just really, really get in there and think about it. And so articles like this and news stories like this, like, just dig a little bit deeper and take a look around. One other thing I wanted to mention before we hop over to the genome hackers, which I know we're getting ready to tackle. We discussed last week a Bloomberg article about this technology. It was suggested in the article that there was this technology that had shown up in products that were coming from specific Chinese supply chains, and that this listening tech, this networking tech, had allowed some spying at a large scale, right, on computers that are important to the infrastructure of
basically server farms,
large scale networks in the United States. Absolutely. Yeah. And I just wanted to double back on that and say there have been some kind of recent revelations where Bloomberg's been having trouble proving that some of what they reported was accurate, and that the sources that they had kind of fingered and called out have actually been disputing some of what Bloomberg wrote. So the reason that I want to say that I want to bring this up before we hop into the next thing is, like, our goal here is not to be it is to provide commentary that is approachable and hopefully insightful, but it is not to be right. And I just want to make that really, really clear, because you and I were briefly talking about this and we didn't get the opportunity to really dig in. But our goal is not to be right. Our goal is to make sure that we're bringing up obviously funny, entertaining, topics or whatever, but also just if there are 1,000 podcasts like Tether Radio Podcast that bring up just this crazy shit that's happening, and just ask for another look, just remind you yet again to just stay the fuck off Snapchat. And just read one more article. You know what I mean? Just be smart about your world.
Stay informed,
and stay tethered. Like, no shit to like what's happening. Like, just stay informed and have an opinion. Like, it's important. And so anyway, I just want to mention that, because whether it's this article or the Bloomberg article or the article Daniel's getting ready to hop into on genome hackers, our goal is not to be right. Right. Yeah. Smart people argue, smart people change their mind. Those are two guaranteed things that you need to look for in your friends. So anyway, with that, I am off my motherfucking soapbox here. But Daniel, tune us in to this genome hacking article. A lot of people have been doing 23andMe and things like that. Key us up here. What's going on with this?
Well, first of all, PSA, don't do that shit. but the problem is it might already be too late. So this article that we pulled from Wired, it's called Genome Hackers Show No One's DNA is Anonymous Anymore. So they start off this article with this guy that's a computational biologist showed I guess Wired or the World or whatever that all he needed was internet access and access to anonymous genetic databases, and that by having access to those two things, he would be able to basically unmask the identity of like pretty much any person, kind of thing. And so now at this point, this was back in 2013. At this point, like you said, 23andMe, Ancestry.com, I'm sure that there's a plethora of other websites and genome analyses, websites and all that jazz. Now that these databases have been built, and I mean, even our folks, ended up doing this stuff. They are thinking that, let's see, so they have more than 12 million, people's genetic profiles now on, between the companies 23andMe and, Ancestry. Okay. So you got 12 million genetic profiles, by using, if you take those genetic profiles and then you cross-reference them, or I guess upload them and cross-reference them with this GED match website, which is a public genealogy website, they can literally get in, and I think they can identify roughly 60% of Americans with European descent. They can literally zero in and say, this is you, kind of thing.
Does it get into the methodology? Does it get into like not necessarily from a mathematics perspective, right? Mm-hmm. But like what
are they using?
What's happening? Like how are they able to observe these connections?
And I was actually going to pretty much read verbatim one of these because it kind of gives a quick and dirty.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's see. There you go. Okay, so okay, yeah. So this and this is coming from the Wired, directly from the Wired, the article, but that analysis provides a list of around 850 individuals, depending on how prolific. I'm sorry, I skipped a little bit. Let's see.
Who are you, and what have you done, my brother?
Okay, so this guy Ehrlich, who is he was the guy that back in 2013, his name was Yaniv Ehrlich. He's got like a team now, I guess, and they published a research article in Science, and they were basically saying, okay, to make these estimates, he and his collaborators at Columbia University and the Hebrew University of Jerusalem analyzed MyHeritage's data set of 1.28 million or 1.28 million anonymous individuals, which is like most of the world's genetic databases, overwhelmingly white. So they took these data sets and they basically said, okay, we're going to cross-reference these with the GED match public like genealogy thing, and they were able to narrow down out of the 1.28 million down to 850 individuals. Okay, so already right there, it was just like it took it from an insane pool to that's a pretty low fucking number compared to 1.28 million. So, depending on how prolific a person's forebears were, but from there, basic demographic information can prune the lineup pretty quickly. Public records indicating where someone lives to within 100 miles cuts the candidate pool in half. So now we're down to about 425. Knowing their age to within 5 years excludes 9 out of 10 of the remaining candidates, kind of thing.
Right.
So then if you know the sex, which can be inferred from genetics, that gets the list down to 16 individuals, okay?
Right.
And then if you knew the exact birth year, you can get it down to around like 1 to 2 people.
So dig this, right? I did a shitload of work in geospatial data when I was working for the group in Venice, right? Mm-hmm. Who will be unnamed for the moment. But one of our clients was working. It was an automotive company, and we had to really look into geospatial, understanding geospatial data. Whatever big data and thinking about geospatial in the geospatial space. Mm-hmm. And I was just trying to find this article. I can't find it. If I can, I'll post it on our show notes. But there is some insane calculation where it's like if you know where something like 3% of smartphones are. Mm-hmm. Like if 3% of the people leave their GPS on their smartphones, it's like, I can't remember the number, but it's under 5%, right? Mm-hmm. You can deduce where the rest are. Okay.
Yeah. Just by using them as like markers almost.
That's exactly right.
3%.
And understanding that, for example, not a lot of people are hanging out in the middle of Yosemite. You know what I mean? Like there are patterns that define the way that we move, right? Mm-hmm. I'm saying this because, dude, it is without a doubt, the same thing in these with these companies that are, professing that they can help you understand early risk and whatever, right? I'm not saying that they're not doing that. They are doing that. But this is we've talked about this numerous times on this podcast, and I'm sure we'll continue to come back around to it because of our flavor of politic here. But this is a big data grab. Without a doubt, it is a big data grab. And like, here's the thing. If the zeros and ones that define Daniel in a database get deleted, you don't fucking exist. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't exist, right? Like, how do you prove you're you? Mm-hmm. And so the most granular way to do that is your genes. I mean, I'm not exaggerating here. Your fingerprints, the makeup of your physicality, right? Mm-hmm. And so the idea that people have given this shit away, it is crazy. It's crazy. And it's like, and further than that, so I mean, whatever, full disclosure, our dad has done this, right?
Yeah.
That means that your genetic makeup, right, enough to understand if the genetic makeup that we're looking at in a given sample has originated from a biological sample, a close biological sample, one that shares data points. They're already there, dude. And I'm not saying like that, you commit a crime, like, sure, you should go down, right? But like, that's wild, dude. If they just want to understand, is this genetic material that we have Daniel, they can do that already. It's already there. And when I say that, what I would point to, again, let's suspend morality just for a second. Mm-hmm. But this was the exact process that they used to catch the Golden State Killer in California, in Northern California. Yeah. One of this guy's relatives had given up, sent in a genetic sample to one of these companies, and fucking evidently you can pay for access to these databases, and that is how the cops were able to nab this guy. Now it's a different story because this guy's look, here's the deal. This guy's a total piece of shit. He should have gone down hard, probably the death penalty for the terror and just nastiness that this person had inflicted on countless other people's lives. But you still have to think about what's happening there. So anyway, that's my commentary. But man, that is a wild article, and I'm glad you were able to drop that.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of one of those things that, and I don't know how well of a job I did actually explaining this, so I would definitely recommend the listeners to follow up and actually read the article. But it kind of is reminiscent, in my opinion, to kind of the shadow profile stuff that we covered earlier,
right?
Which I can't remember if that was actually an episode that we posted or not, but. And it was kind of along the lines of, okay, somebody on Facebook posts something about you. You don't have a Facebook profile, but your buddy does. And it's either about you or you're in a photo and they're talking about you or whatever. And so that data set is saved. And, even though you didn't opt into putting information on Facebook, they have information about you because someone else divulged it,
Right.
And so that's what we're dealing with now with the 23andMe and the Ancestry, and the GED match, like public database stuff, because it's you no longer have the option to say, hey, I don't want to. Well, to quote the article, dude, with enough DNA, it doesn't matter if you want to be found or not. Opting out is no longer an option.
That is exactly correct. And
so it's just, I don't know. I guess damned if you do, damned if you don't. At this point,
no. Look. I mean, we talk about this, right? We talk about how folks that are, very close to technology, kind of want to get further away from technology, right? And here's the deal. That's not the way that most people see the world or experience the world. Yeah. And so, if you better damn well believe that you sign an invisible contract when you say you want to live in modern society, and there are an unbelievably large number of increasingly encumbering things that come along with that. And this is one of them. So
for sure,
it's interesting because we've got for you and I, like, we will be dead and gone by the time that this is kind of at a fever pitch. I tend to think that these distributed systems really can be the salvation for a lot of these problems. Can provide can allow us to maintain a little bit of humanity in this bizarre world. But we'll see, man. So I appreciate you dropping that article in there.
For sure.
So we're gonna hop over to an article here on the mechanization of farming. And I think, Daniel, you actually brought this one up. I'm going to cover it today, but you brought it up. And it's funny because I thought about this, was thinking about this on the drive down. So ag tech is a huge category now. It's been growing at a really fast clip over the past certainly 5 or 6 years, maybe even a little bit longer than that. And the general idea is that we should be able to use robotics, use machine learning, use things like computer vision to just do a better job in the way that we grow our food, right? I think most people would be surprised to really understand, and I guess my next comment here is to illustrate why this is important. I think most people would be surprised to understand how much food comes from the United States, right? The world is a big place, but the amount of agriculture that comes from the U.S. is staggering. And you want to guess what the largest the state with the largest production is?
I don't know. California.
Absolutely. And let me blow your mind with something else here. I'm gonna type in the background here because I want to fact check this real quickly. But I'm gonna blow your mind. Guess what the percentage of world rice production that comes from California?
World rice production. And you said percentage. Man. 10.
Okay, I want to make sure that I'm getting this right here. You said, hold on. You're saying 10% of the world rice production, right? Is that what you said?
I'm gonna backtrack to 5.
Okay, I'm having trouble finding this number, of course, on the spot, right? But I'm gonna find this. And I'm gonna drop it into. I'm gonna drop.
Well, if you want to cruise on, dude, I can see what's up.
Yeah, okay. Dude. Let me. It's over. It's like over 60-70%.
Just from California.
Look it up. Because I was looking this up the other day because I was actually having this conversation with somebody and they were. This is absurd. They were cooking rice and I picked the pack up and I was like looking at it and I was like, wait, what? This is made in California? And you got to check it out. It's an unbelievable number of rice that comes from California. So my point is that ag tech is, the biggest tech companies in the world are getting you to buy shitty clothes that you throw away after a season. Like, needless to say, we better start concentrating on ag tech, right? Because unless people become morally comfortable with letting, babies die in India, which I don't see happening anytime soon, somebody's going to have to feed all these people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so ag tech is taking on just this crazy growth curve. And the brief story that I was going to tell on this is that I didn't do work with these guys directly, but I worked out of a spot called the Founders Den up in San Francisco, and there was a really interesting ag tech company in there that was using computer vision to look at crops that were growing and kind of tell which crops were going to have which yields, right? Mm-hmm. Like what their yield percentage was going to be, and they were able to get just a crazy like 20-30% higher accuracy rate in the prediction, which matters, right? All the way from how many people we're going to be able to feed this year, to how much is the farmer going to make, to what do the subsidies need to look like, to what are the commodity prices going to be. I mean, this is like a huge trickle down number. And so anyway, it was just really interesting. So this article specifically, sorry for the brief tangent, but let's get back on it. This article specifically is talking about America's first autonomous robot farm, right? That is looking to completely replace humans on this farm, right? So the group is called Iron Ox. Co-founders Brandon Alexander and a guy by the name of John Binney. This group is out of California. That's kind of why I went on the little rant about California. It's a huge state with tons of ag. And what these guys are aiming to do is create farms that are managed by robots, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're using everything from obviously robotics to, again, they're calling it AI software. I'm not going to split hairs. Sure, AI software. And they are these little arms are planting the plants and harvesting the crops, and then they've got these mock-ups of these grow bays that they produce, and they're selling these bays to restaurants and grocery stores supposedly later this year in the Bay Area, right? And so we can see that, and I think this is something that's really a kind of a common theme in ag tech, is that there are like two perspectives. One is like, industrial scaled farms are going to have to feed people in the cities for the most part, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna slice it that way. Are gonna have to feed most people for the most part, right? But then, in addition to that, there's this idea of introducing ag tech such that small restaurants or apartment complexes or whatever can actually produce more of their own food locally. And when I say locally, I mean I'm literally saying you have it is a version of a kind of a souped up home garden, right? And so I really appreciate you dropping this article in here, Daniel, because I think that's something that we have not really broached on this. We talk about tech a lot, and we talk about a lot of the dangers of technology and like things to be cognizant of. But I think this is definitely a positive an interesting trend where there are billions of people in this world. And if you look at, not to go too far down the rabbit hole here, but if you look at the endothermic versus exothermic possibilities of the United States, right? Or excuse me, of the world, right? Mm-hmm. So the endothermic energy is the energy that must come from within. The exothermic energy is the energy that is kind of gets pulled in from outside the ecosystem that is necessary to continue to grow plants, and kind of starts as like the genesis of the biosphere, right? Because sunlight hits plants, plants grow, things eat plants, things eat those things, and ultimately that kind of boils up to more complex organisms like human beings being able to exist at scale. Mm-hmm. And so if you look at how kind of overweighted what human beings have demanded of our ecosystem, if you look how overweighted it is, it's just insanely bloated. If we weren't using fertilizers and modern techniques, if we were growing everything organically, flat out, we would not be able to feed the number of human beings that are on planet Earth right now, period.
Yeah.
it couldn't happen.
Plus, we couldn't afford it.
Right. Well, that's exactly right. Plus, you couldn't squeeze in enough Whole Foods, you know?
Yeah. No, dude, I just real quick side note, but I paid $3.99 a pound for organic red bell peppers the other day because I didn't want. I just went to Publix instead of Kroger, but $3.99 a pound for bell peppers.
How tasty was that?
God, dude, it was so organic. That's all I got.
Yeah, I like it. But anyway, so Agra, the agritech, that's one that is kind of off the beaten path for a lot of us. Mm-hmm. But man, dig into this shit because you guys will dig it. It is really interesting. And I'll make a note to kind of circle back on this every couple of podcasts to see if we can bring more in. But it's I mean, it's like again, unless we're like we're in this place where you have to use technology to survive now. Like it's impossible. And so, we better start making the best use of it. But anyway, so, okay, we're taking a look here at the time. We seem to be running a little bit long. Do you want to run us through this Banksy thing? This Banksy auction sign. And we will wrap with this. But yeah, run us through this for anybody that didn't see it, because this was at least an interesting piece of performance.
So so if you're not familiar with Banksy, Banksy is a graffiti artist in the UK.
Modern artist. Yep.
Yeah, and really, man, you want to see some really, really cool shit, just Google Banksy art or whatever and just look through some of his stuff. Really clever, really, he does kind of a social commentary with it also, and it's just super, super cool, really savvy individual. I think that, I mean, it's definitely a dude, but nobody knows.
They don't know. Right? They actually don't know, right? They actually don't know. There's speculation that it might be a group of people. I mean, I've heard everything from like, the band members of Massive Attack to whatever. But it's just, Daniel's exactly right. Just so socially conscious, extremely socially conscious artist, and was kind of like the answer to pop art after Shepard Fairey. And has grown immensely popular. I imagine most people on the podcast have heard it, but he had a really interesting stunt that happened last week that Daniel's going to walk us through.
Yeah, so he had a very famous piece called "Girl with Balloon," and I think that he had different iterations of that over the course of the years. That sometimes it wouldn't be a balloon; it'd be something else, depending on whatever was going on societally, at the time, or something along those lines. Well, they apparently an auction house came by a piece of his artwork, and
it was Sotheby's.
Sotheby's. That doesn't mean anything to me. Is that a really famous auction house?
What, dude? Sotheby's is the auction house. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so they came by the item, and it ended up selling for 1.04 million British pounds. British pounds or British pounds sterling. But anyway, so, and I think that ended up working out to like what,
$1.4 million.
$1.4 million. So, but anyway, so, and there's actually a video of this within the article of, as soon as the auction item was sold, or very shortly after, the actual piece of art starts falling down through the frame, being shredded as it's coming out the bottom of the frame. Right. And everybody in the auction house just is like floored, and it's amazing because it shreds about halfway down. But I'm sorry, whoever Banksy is, they had built a shredder inside of the frame so that if it was ever auctioned, then I guess they would have the ability to remotely cause it to be shredded or something along those lines, which, like me and you were talking about a little bit, it's like, I don't know. That's a pretty bulky frame. You would think that there was some kind of like X-ray or something that was used on it before, to make sure there's not a damn bomb in it or something,
Yeah, but look, here, this is what is so dope about this. First of all, no way that Sotheby's didn't know. I don't believe that for a second. There's no way. You're not selling something for $1.4 million and then shocked that there were like 19 razor blades embedded in this. Like, it's just, I mean, the level of diligence that goes into valuing art is insanely detailed. They for sure knew. What I think is more interesting about this is that, is this, I don't even know. I guess a good way to put it, but this like this odd worship of it's like I would liken it to Elon Musk recently filed through Tesla a trademark on Tesla Kila. Okay.
Oh wow, really?
No joke, right? Elon Musk sold flamethrowers earlier this year, right? Like,
that's what I was gonna say. With every case, you get a complimentary flamethrower.
Yeah, and so and this is, I just think that this is so interesting. Like, this is where society is, right? Like, Sotheby's absolutely knew about this. Thing gets shredded. You're exactly right. The video is hilarious because the people that were there, they definitely didn't know.
Yeah.
Really, or they are great actors because it was genuine. But that piece still moved. The person who bid on it said, nope, to me it's worth as much or more. Let's go. I just posted an additional article on our show notes from ArtNet that goes through some unanswered questions. But it's just such an interesting commentary on society, right? That this artist who is known for, whether it's a guy or a group of people or whatever, who is known for doing like these inflammatory, crazy things, can then destroy his art in front of people, and people are like still clamoring for it, right? And are still like falling over themselves to buy this shit. So it's just, I don't know. I love this world we're living in, man. It is absurdity at the highest scale. But dude, thank you for the presentation of that idea there, my dude. All right, so we're gonna move into the home, the last slide here. So I just wanted to remind everybody of a couple of our social handles and do the little song and dance here at the end of the episode. But you have been listening to Tether Radio, and this has been episode 19. As always, we appreciate the time that you have chosen to spend with us today. Hopefully it was informative. Hopefully you got a little something out of it and dug a couple of the things we were talking about. I want to remind everyone that if you'd like to reach out directly, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to us at tetherradio@gmail.com. That is TETHERRADIO@gmail.com. You can find us at Twitter at Tether_radio. You can find us on Instagram at the same, at Tether_radio. And we are, of course, on Mark Zuckerberg's Matrix.
Face nut.
on his face at Tether Radio, all one word. So this has been episode 19 of the Tether Radio Podcast. We thank you for spending the time with us today. As always, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Daniel.
We are reminding you to stay tethered, friends, and we will see you next week.
Look into the articles, stay informed, and for God's sake, stay tethered.
Later.